What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 mod career mode here with Esteban Ocon in the Force India car. We're here for episode number 5 today at the Spanish Grand Prix. If you did miss episode number 4 at the Russian one, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. It was uploaded last week, but getting into the qualifying results here for the Spanish Grand Prix. Thankfully for us, it's going to be a bit more interesting, hopefully, in the game with potentially even a 3-stop. We don't have a lot of medium tyres to spare, a lot of soft tyres, so we'll have to see how it goes. We're going to get straight into this. We go to 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix, and 5 lights have gone out, and we're underway from P11 on the grid, and we get a good initial getaway to try and jump Romain Grosjean. We can't quite do so quite yet. Yellow flags momentarily, then it goes green, so Grosjean goes to the right hand side. I'm going to go to the left. I'm going to try and make it 3 wide into turn 1, round the outside, going to turn to the inside for the next corner, but Alonso and Grosjean going side by side pushes me and forces me wide and deep into that corner. Nearly went off circuit, so we swoop it around the outside though of Romain, and we get up the order, so that'll be at least P10. I think that is with Sergio Perez, our teammate, having a pretty mediocre start, not already jumping anyone. I think he's actually lost one position to the Williams car potentially, as ahead of them the 2 Red Bull cars are close behind. I think Max Verstappen may have had some contact there at the very beginning into turn 1, but moving back to us at the end of lap 1, we're going to get the slipstream on Alonso. Obviously the McLaren car going to be good in the corners here around Spain, as it was in real life, but down the straight we can have him, and at the same time you can see our teammate Lovely down the inside. Perez goes round the outside of turn 2 around Massa. Massa's going to, a little bit of contact there, a little bit of tyre smoke, I think that must have been, comes off the car, back of that Williams car, and Perez just about hangs on but doesn't quite get the overtake done. So you can see there we duck to the inside and have a little look maybe in the mirrors and try maybe put off Perez if we can, but for now sticking behind, kind of just trying to chase the front end of this car. You saw they're going a little bit squirmy on the replay camera, but we're going to try and close up and try and get this P7 if we can. But this is the replay of what I mentioned happened to Verstappen into turn 1. He lost a big chunk of his end plate there on the right hand side, hitting the back of, I believe that's Kimi Raikkonen, and he actually came in at the end of lap 1, so that's why we're up the order chasing P7 rather than P8 or P9, because Verstappen came in early on lap 1, so he's going to have to go on to a set of, I would imagine, mediums, even a set of hards. I mean, the hard tyres I think this afternoon are going to be avoided by everyone, so I would suspect it would be medium tyres, but he's going to have a very long afternoon trying to chase after some, even the tail end of the points, really, I would say, if you're putting on lap 1 there, because he's going to be way down the order in last place now. So we move on to lap 3, anyway, back to our fight, and we're still behind Perez, even after 1 lap, so pretty much a very 2017-esque sort of battle there, flat out, and it just takes a lot longer to catch up to these cars now compared to the 2016 kind of career modes you may see, because you just got dirty air, everyone's got higher downforce, everyone's pushing as hard as they can on these new set of regulation cars, and it's just that much harder to close up. But eventually when we do close up, and we do get DRS now on towards lap 4, we can try and make this move, and it shouldn't be too difficult. Obviously in a straight line with DRS, that's what it's for, to make that move in a straight line down the inside. And Perez actually does come back at us though, so we go side by side into turn 2. So actually, to be fair to Perez, he's going to make it a bit harder than I thought it would be. I really thought we could have made just a swooping move back to the braking zone, but Perez still there, still very close, still side by side into the end of sector 1, and Perez is going to hang it around the outside. He's got beautiful traction there, and he gets ahead of us into P7. We're going to dive it back down the inside, bit of a switchback move there, locking up from Perez on the outside, so we're still side by side, oh so close. You can see there a bit of the paintwork got chipped off there from our right front to his left side pod, so close there between our right front and his left front tyre. We go round the outside, very tricky in 5th gear, but we managed to do it, and I think that will be finally it for P7. So fair play to Sergio Perez. He put up a very good fight there for what is 7th place. And now as we move on to the end of lap, will be 5 on towards lap 6, you can see there on the right hand side on the mini-map, Felipe Massa comes to the pit, so he kind of denies us of a kind of opportunity to fight him, unfortunately, which is kind of unfortunately a kind of pattern of this race. A lot of the time you're going to see I'm going to be catching cars, and then they just come into the pits at the wrong time for us to, unfortunately, not able to overtake them. But we move on to lap 7. We're up into P2 now because we're going longer. Danica Fiat, though, is out of this Grand Prix, but our tyres start to go off, so I think I'm probably going to come in at the end of this lap. You can see the front left tyre really worn. Generally, obviously, when you get to about 80% is when you're in the range and danger of a puncture. But we're going to come in anyway then this lap. But a virtual safety car does get called out because of Danica Fiat anyway. So I'm not too sure if that's going to help us or not. I mean, in hindsight, probably not. I would have rather actually there not been a virtual safety car, because obviously that would hold everyone up, and most people have already made their pit stop. So that actually probably hinders me more than it helps me, that virtual safety car. But this is why it occurred and how Fiat went out in the Grand Prix. Just a simple engine failure for the Russian in the Toro Rosso. Obviously, Toro Rosso not doing too well so far in this career mod season, lacking a little bit behind Renault. And so that retirement's not going to help Kvyat or his team there for some much-needed points, with Renault getting quite lucky in the last few rounds, especially, you know, places like Bahrain and China there. But we move into the pit stop phases now after the virtual safety car has ended from P2. As I said, though, probably is going to hinder us, actually, that virtual safety car. But we'll come in now for what's going to be a set of medium tyres. You can see the Mercedes car, I think that is, just come down the pit lane as well as Fernando Alonso joining us at the moment. He's doing a decent job in the top 10 still with us. But yeah, we're onto the set of white wall medium tyres. So going as long as we can on those. But as I mentioned at the very start, the tyre wear on the mod for this race is a little bit higher than it is in real life, which is maybe a good thing in terms of for the entertainment factor, that it's not going to be a boring one-stop race. But it does mean that we are going to have to think a little bit about the tyre wear and maybe try and stretch this as much as we can. And we're going to have to be a little bit cautious on maybe how aggressive we're going into some of these corners. Obviously, Spain high-speed corners kind of very, very abrasive on the left-hand side of the car with so many right-handers, especially through turn 2 and 3. But we catch up to Daniel Ricciardo now, who's being held up an absolute treat here right now by Pascal Wehrlein. So Wehrlein doing a very decent job for me. He comes to the pits at the correct time. So thank you, Wehrlein. Thank you. Wehrlein kind of working for me, unbeknownst to him. But we move to the right-hand side now, opening DRS on Ricciardo, and we do make the overtake on the Red Bull cars. So at the moment, very, very good stuff. Obviously, Verstappen was already down the order, so that's the only Red Bull car we're going to be trying to overtake this afternoon, and we've already done it on lap 9. So the hope is now we'll just stay ahead of him, and that'll be very, very good for the constructors. Obviously, we're in a constructors fight with Red Bull. Meanwhile, we've got Kimi Raikkonen now overtaking one of the Haas cars. Now, he's a little bit down the order because he's out of sync of this Grand Prix. You can see he's behind Carlos Sainz there in the Toro Rosso, who's going a lot longer. He's on a set of mediums, I believe, or no, he's on a set of softs right now, but he's going a lot longer in the Grand Prix, is what I'm trying to get at. So he's a little bit kind of obstacle for some of these cars, where you can see Vettel's there in third place, net third place, I should say, and then you've got, at the moment, it's Bottas in second, and effectively what will be Hamilton in first. Obviously, we're kind of in the midst of that, but at the moment, Hamilton's got the jump of Bottas. Bottas did get pole position here, but Hamilton obviously getting a much-needed lead for this Grand Prix. He is, I think, third in the championship at the moment. So far in the championship, it's been a tale of the two Finns, with Raikkonen and Bottas leading the way in the standings. So Hamilton needs that. Vettel needs that to be ahead of Raikkonen. And a few of you have been commenting that I need to swap the AI cars around for Ferrari. It's always been Vettel being Vettel's AI car. Vettel's had the faster AI car the entire time, but it's just been a bit of luck. So I guess, you know, much like a real season, be patient, guys. It's only been 5 episodes. I mean, a lot can happen in 21 rounds, so just be patient on that. Anyway, we come into the pits now on lap 18. Unfortunately, a very, very boring stint for us in the medium tyres. We just go as long as we can all the way to lap 18. As we come out of the pits, you can see Raikkonen finally does get past that Toro Rosso car into turn 1, although Carlos will try his best to hang it down the inside of turn 2, but then through the swooping right-hander of turn 3, Raikkonen does eventually edge out with that downforce of the Ferrari car. And you can see there we're in the background now. We're going to try and chase after Carlos if we can. But once again, just like we had previously with Massa, Sainz comes in just at the right time. Well, for him, but unfortunately for us, we can't actually make the overtake on track. So we just make it via the strategy. So we get up into P5 now. Obviously, we're ahead of the 2 Red Bull cars. So that's going to be the highest position we could probably hope for today, with obviously the 2 Ferraris and the 2 Mercedes so much faster in terms of pace. That's really who we're fighting, the Red Bull cars, and so far so good. We're doing that job. Meanwhile, as we move through the laps, you can see this is Hamilton still near the Grand Prix, still going on medium tyres, actually, to be fair to him, so he's been doing a really good job on the mediums. Bottas comes in now from a set of soft tyres, so Bottas went with 2 soft sets at the very beginning of the Grand Prix, whereas Hamilton went mediums on his first pit stop, so a bit of a split strategy there with Mercedes, and then you got Vettel and then Raikkonen, and then behind us in 5th place is, at the moment, is actually Jolyon Palmer ahead of Felipe Massa, and then Fernando Alonso, a little bit of a gap to him, and then there's Carlos Sainz, who's made his second pit stop of the afternoon, followed by Lance Stroll, Romain Grosjean to round out the kind of top 10 positions. I believe at the tail end of the points, just outside it, is Pascal Wehrlein, and then Daniel Ricciardo, who has made his second pit stop of the afternoon, is way down the order on medium tyres. So Ricciardo, not only Verstappen, Ricciardo having to do a lot of overtaking maybe in this Grand Prix to get up back into the points. Now we move on to lap 24 now, and we're at the end of this stint of soft tyres, and you can see the left front is absolutely shot. So we have to come in now, and so we're going on to another set of soft tyres. We only actually have 1 set of mediums available, which I found surprising but I only found that out mid-race because every time I tried to select medium tyres, the game wouldn't let me because it was physically impossible. I had only one set left, which was the worn tyres I had already used. So I have to go onto a set of soft tyres because the hard tyres just really aren't an option really around this circuit because they perform so badly. It's why in real life they avoided them. You saw no one in the Grand Prix using the hard tyres in real life, and it's the same thing here in this mod. They're just not available. They're not, an option basically. So we only have one set of mediums and we've already used that. So we have to go to a set of softs and just try and stretch them out as much as we can. So it's going to be a bit of a worry, I'm not going to lie, for the tyre wear a little bit with a lot of laps to go. But meanwhile, we move on. As we move through the laps, we can see now a little bit of a fight going on between the two Renault cars, and it's quite magically Jolyon Palmer overtaking Nico Hülkenberg on track, fair and square, to overtake his probably better teammate, the German Nico Hülkenberg. And so fair play to Palmer, he's made that overtake. Behind them, closely behind, is the two McLaren cars, and then not too far behind actually, Carlos Sainz and Toro Rosso. So surprising actually to see those 5 cars so close together around Spain, because obviously usually it's a chassis circuit, and it's quite surprising to see those 5 cars so equally matched around here. But you can see up ahead it's Hamilton, with Bottas actually surprisingly chasing down Hamilton now in the dying stages of the Grand Prix with DRS wide open. Behind them, Sebastian Vettel quite a sizable gap to them. So unlike the real life Grand Prix, Mercedes in control of this race, with Raikkonen in a kind of 4th in no man's land, trying his best to catch up to Vettel. And then obviously ourselves, we're in no man's land as well, ahead of this entire pack of those 5 cars, followed by Romain Grosjean, who I think is going to be the kind of tail end of the points there after Felipe Massa, and then Sergio Perez, my teammate, who's way down in 12th position. So I am in a very lofty high compared to Perez. I don't quite know why Perez is performing so badly at this Grand Prix. He did out-qualify me, but by quite some way. He was in P7, I think it was, to my P12. So yeah, very unorthodox. Maybe he's been hit with a lot of tyre wear and he's maybe gone for a very aggressive strategy. But meanwhile, we move on to lap 27 now, and we are finally actually catching a car and civilization. We catch up to Marcus Ericsson, the only car in a while that I've really seen this Grand Prix. Now, he was actually holding up Raikkonen, so I actually thought I could have maybe started to catch Raikkonen. To be fair, I'm only a couple of seconds back from him, but then you can see through that final corner, Ericsson held me up as well. So although we do have DRS off Ericsson, which is good for us, you can see Raikkonen just in the distance. I just don't think we'll have enough pace, and by lap 31, unfortunately my left front is really starting to wear out, and I have to start to slow down to try and protect my tyre on the left front, and just all 4 tyres really. So really unfortunate. I think the closest I got to Raikkonen was 2 seconds, and then through lap 32, here we go, bang. Disaster has hit for us. We have got a puncher on the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Absolute disaster for us at the Spanish Grand Prix, because Ricciardo now is in P6. He's on medium tyres. He's going to the end. He's got no qualms. And this is where the one medium tyre is really coming in to kick us, because it looks like everyone in this Grand Prix chose the weekend allocation to have 2 sets of mediums, whereas I only had 1 set. So, it's just calamities, because Ricciardo gets past us, and by the end of the lap, we're not going to be in the points even, because we're just having to trundle around an entire lap pretty much with a puncher on the left. We go completely off circuit in Sector 3, just about narrowly missing. I think that's the Sauber trying to re-overtake us there. And so we're going to have Palmer, Hülkenberg, the 2 McLarens of Vandoorne and Alonso, and also Carlos Sainz overtaking us. And we're going to go down the order. So we're going to have to come in for a late pit stop on the last lap of the Grand Prix to go into a set of soft tyres. So, yeah. Absolute calamities in this Grand Prix. Disaster. I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, we've had this before with the Ferrari car when we did the Kimi Raikkonen career mode, but obviously back then in that career mode, obviously we were in a car that was so fast that it didn't matter. Whereas now, in a Force India, I'm having to push as hard as I can to even just get 5th place. So, not what we need. We're down in P12, and it's going to be a no-points race for both me and Perez. Thankfully for us, though, Verstappen never came back into the points, so Ricciardo's the only one that scores points for Red Bull. He gets 10 points only, so I think that will mean we're still ahead in the Constructors. But Hamilton gets the win, and so for the championship, for the AI, that's heating things up, actually, because it's now Raikkonen only 1 point ahead of Valtteri Bottas. So this race does actually spice up the championship in that regard, with only 1 point in it. And you can see Hamilton closes up with 85 points, and Vettel finally gets up into P4 ahead of me with 63 points there. We move down to 5th with Ocon. And the Constructors, you can see, as I mentioned, Red Bull only getting 10 points, so we're still ahead in 3rd place. So still doing a decent job in the Force India to be in 3rd place there in the Constructors. But obviously, as I mentioned, I think last episode as well, Ferrari and Mercedes in the world of their own, and so far so good for the Mercedes guys. Very consistent compared to Ferrari, and they're ahead by 176 points to 145. And also down the order, you can see McLaren jumps up into P7 with 11 points there. Toro Rosso way down, really underperforming with only 5, matching Haas, who get 5 this afternoon. But that's been this episode, guys. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'm not going to lie, I don't know if we're going to be able to finish this career mode before F1 2017 actually comes out on the 25th of August. Obviously, at the moment, my focus is on my driver, you know, the bigger series, the one I put all my quality editing into. This one takes a back pedal, you know, very, very simple editing. It's not the one I prioritize at all. So I just don't know if we're going to be able to finish it. Obviously, once my driver finishes, because it's only got 15 episodes, so once that ends in like 2 weeks' time, I can obviously try and speed this up as best I can, but I just don't know if we're going to be able to finish it. So I'm just going to put that out right now. You guys may not see an ending to this career mode, unfortunately. I think we'll just have to see how it goes, really. But obviously, once the new game comes out, I'm never going to kind of finish this series. There's no point if the new game's out. So just letting you guys know that. But anyway, if you did enjoy the episode, once again, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. I've been over. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you guys next time.